Welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. Yes, Larry Sharpe, I am here. It is Monday evening, 7 p.m., and it is Ask Me Anything Monday. Yes, it is. Thank you all for joining me here on the East Coast. I know I was away a bit last week. I was out and about, jumping all around New York State, trying to support some candidates up in the North Country. That's the most northern part on the Canadian border of New York State. Yes, even there, I have finished 33 of New York State's 62 counties in my full Sharpe number 3. So on my way, next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, doing a couple more. I should knock out every county by October 13th, supporting us, gaining ballot access in my state, obviously. For those of you who care, I know some of you do. Like, comment, share. It does matter. It's critically important that we are liking, commenting, and sharing, letting people know that I'm out here doing this, making things happen. Please do that. And if you have the wherewithal, go ahead and sponsor patreon.com/sharpeway. $10, $25, or $100. The more time I have doing this, and the more time I have up there and run around New York State, the less time I have to make money for myself. So I appreciate any support that you can give. And if you like what I'm doing, support it because you like what I'm doing. I appreciate that. So yes, the piece I wanted to bring up today, and I was thinking about this while I was traveling around New York State and seeing how some people are really struggling and some of the smaller towns are even worse off, how the cities are even worse than the towns. As we would drive around looking for local diners and local eateries, what we constantly saw is every time we were in a city, any type of city, large or small, we didn't know if the place would be open or not because they were going out of business so fast that Google Maps hadn't updated their application yet. I know, horrible, right? That was happening. We weren't sure if they were actually open. We also didn't know who was following the rules and regulations of the state and who was doing mask mandates and who wasn't and all those different things, right? All those issues we were concerned about. What we noticed was the chains were still surviving, right? A lot of the McDonald's of the world and those. But if you know what I do when I travel the state, I don't go to chains. I only go to locally owned places. That's been my thing for the past 3 years. And that's all I ever go to without exception, right? I only go to places and I eat at locally owned places. I talk about localization. I talk about keeping money in the community. I talk that trash all the time. So I have to now walk the walk when I talk the talk. So I literally make sure I only go to local areas, local eateries and such whenever I do events or whenever I am eating myself or my team. We make sure we spend the money locally. And many of you are giving me money for this, right? And I appreciate that. Those of you who've donated. So I know that I'm actually giving that money back into a local community. That's what I talk. That's what I actually do. So while I'm doing that, I realized that. I felt, wow, it's difficult. But then I saw some people who were becoming very ingenious in what they were doing, changing how they do things, shifting and adjusting and trying to make things happen. And I thought about the resilience about that this country needs desperately. I then came home. My wife was talking about her school, the kids going to school. My wife has basically become a stay-at-home school teacher now, basically. Not 100% because we are officially going to school, but we're not leaving the house. It's all basically remote. We decided to keep our girls at home. And my wife has taken the lead totally, and I'm so glad I have her, to take the lead for my kids' education. So I'm thinking about the resilience. Are we being resilient? And most people will tell you in America, the legend is so, and most people believe for sure, and there's evidence of this too, that the greatest generation came up during World War II, where there was a lot of suffering and sacrifice and pain and struggle. And from that, we grew resilient and strong. And yes, and I'm not an improv, but I am doing a yes and here. Yes, and we also added some of the biggest nanny state, some of the biggest welfare systems, and the biggest state assistance programs that we've ever had. We began the military-industrial complex really post-World War II. We began the nanny state really pre-World War II and during World War II, rent control and Social Security, and all those things that began during the World War II era, the greatest generation era. So while there was amazing resilience, that's true, there was also a massive increase in government power and also government expectation. And the funny part about it is how any community becomes more resilient, how any community grows out of struggle or pain is not with a parent over them. It's with maybe some assistance here or there, handout here or there, but generally it's from the local community, giving them a hand, helping, holding the ladder while they begin to move up the ladder. That really is what usually has happened. That's been sustainable. That's how America grew, sustainably. It's not happening now. And that's one of my biggest worries. My biggest worries is there will be some people who are very resilient. But my other worry is, what have we been raising as children? What have we been raising as, all people ever talk about when it comes to kids is, kids are our future. True. Kids are the me running things. True. Have we been raising our children to be resilient? Do our Gen Xers, I'm a Gen Xer. I know I look like an old boomer, but I'm not. I'm a Gen Xer. So, are our Gen Xers, are our millennials, are our Gen Zers, do they have the resilience to get past this and to not fall back on government, on big daddy, big mommy government, and to actually grow on their own through community? And as I hear people talk about this all the time, Larry, we have to grow community and remove government, grow community and remove government. Yes. My worry is, have we set them up to be able to actually stand up to this challenge? Right? You might have heard, and those of you who've been paying attention, or who are parents, you might have paid attention to this. There was a thing called the helicopter parent many years ago. And for those of you who don't know, it's the idea of a parent who would hover over their children and make sure that anything would happen. I'm there. I'll grab you. Oh, no, don't do this. I got to control this. I got to control you. I got to control this, right? The helicopter parent. That has morphed into now what's called the bulldozer parent. For those who don't know what that means is the parent gets in front and pushes all obstacles out of the child's way. So that as the child grows, there's no obstacles because the parent has made sure that their path is set for their child. How in the world do they gain resilience from that? And if they haven't fallen down and gotten back up, I had a young gentleman talk to me at one of my meetings, one of my events. He said, he told me, Larry, I was trying to do this one thing he was trying to achieve, and he failed. It's a long process. I don't want to give details, but it's a long process he's got to go through, almost like a licensing process, almost like that, to get a credential or a license. He's going down this process, and he failed. And so now he's like, well, I failed, so, I dropped out, so I'm going to try this other way. And I said, but I thought you wanted to be X. He said, yeah, I really do. I said, well, then why are you going this route? Well, I think it might be easier, and then maybe. And I said, but you want to be X. He said, yeah. I said, that makes you A. You said X. He said, yeah, but I failed. I said, you fell down. He said, yeah. I said, get back up. Do it again. Can you not do it again? He said, well, no, I can. Well, you've been through it once and you failed. So go do it again. It'll be easier this time. You've already been through it once. Go do it again. And he looked at me like I was crazy at first. I said, that's what resilience is. I said, if you accept A when you want X, and you accept A, you're always going to wish you had X. Go try again. And if you actually get it this time, it'll be even sweeter. Go do it again. That's resilience. I wonder if we have that as the youth today. I'm not saying we don't. I'm not going to dump on millennials or Gen Zers. It's not who I am. You guys know I don't do that. I'm asking a serious question because our culture has changed. And do we have that? If we don't have that, how do we build it? And what are our steps to give people the hand up they need, making sure it really is a ladder and not a crutch? Because my biggest worry of all of these things is that government has already been a crutch for some communities for so many generations that the community doesn't even know how to help itself, because it's been relying upon this crutch for generations, so that now when things get bad, instead of the community stepping up and trying to help itself, it will simply ask for yet another crutch. That's my biggest concern. Let me grab a couple of comments here. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. I appreciate that. Yes. So, hey, my girl, appreciate that. Yes. Thank you. Good to see you also. Sorry, absolutely. Hold on. I believe Joe Jorgen should answer the same questions posed to her opponents and on YouTube, shared and posted by all. That way, those that are glued to the fake debaters will be able to hear from her as well. If she can't be on stage, we still want to hear her voice. Let her speak. Oh, it's about the debates tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to actually be on Compound Media, and I'll probably be live tweeting it also, as I usually live tweet debates. I'll live tweet debates, and I'll be on Compound Media. I'll be on Chrissy Mayer's show, for those of you who want to watch tomorrow. I'll be doing my show around 7, and then hers around 9 when it's actually happening. So I will actually be on, probably live tweeting. I don't know, right? All I can say, and I do this from my own campaign, is you've got to try to make better content, more exciting content. The more exciting content you make, the better. If the content's just going to be the same, let me answer these boring questions, it's going to go nowhere. It's libertarians will watch it, and we're already going to vote for her. So it's literally a waste of time and money and energy. If she's going to make something interesting or exciting, Peter, I'm in. That's good stuff. It's going to answer questions the same as they've been answering for the past 3 or 4 months. Who's going to watch it? Us? I'm already voting Joe Jorgensen, right? You're not gaining another person by doing that. So we do something that gains people, right? To let her speak only works if it's exciting and interesting. If it's not, who cares? People aren't going to change, right? You see all the stuff people say bad and horrible about Biden, bad and horrible about Trump, yet the polls don't change. Her answering questions the same as everyone else is not. Something exciting, then Peter, I'm in. Just answering questions, it's a colossal waste of time. Do something else. Be better. So, hi from Michigan. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. Oh, you're on the border. I love that. Yes. Yes. Larry, any point of view on Trump's tax info in the Times? Well, Abdul, let's make 2 assumptions before I talk about the tax issue. Let's assume that's true and accurate. I actually don't know if that's true or accurate. I don't know what the spin is. I didn't read it. So so for the sake of this argument now, I'm going to assume that the point that he only paid $750 in taxes in 2 years is true. That may turn out not to be true. So I'm trying to reserve that right, because you never know with how media throws stuff out there. For the sake of argument, I'm going to say that that's accurate. If it's true that Trump only paid $750, it was 2017. If that's true, not shame on him for doing that. Shame on him for not saying it. Let me be clear. I'm not against tax avoidance at all. I do exactly the same thing. I try to pay the least legal. Let me say that very loud in case the IRS is listening. Legal. I try my best to pay the least amount legally. They'll be audited, right? Legally, tax I can possibly pay. So I actually don't have a problem at all with him trying to avoid taxes. I do it too, and I assume any business owner, as I am, would try to pay the least taxes legally that they can. I have to emphasize legally. So of course, I get that. My issue is, why didn't you say that? I'm saying it now. If I ever run and have to give my taxes, you're going to see I go out of my way to pay legally the absolute least amount of taxes that I pay. Of course I do. And I'm proud of that fact. I'm not scared of that. I'm saying it out loud now. I wish he had done that. It makes him look bad that he didn't say that. He should have openly said that. Hey, I go out of my way. I don't want to pay any taxes. He just said it. I'm saying it now. I would always say it. And if my tax returns ever come out, I hope I can scam him, never put them out. But if I do and they come out, you'll see I go out of my way to try to pay the least legal amount of tax. So my point of view is, I don't have a problem with him trying to avoid taxes. I don't. What I have a problem with is that he didn't say it. That's a problem. He should have come right out and said it, and he didn't. And that makes him look bad. Don't like that at all. I hope that was clear on my opinion about that. Yes. In your opinion, does New York ever have a chance to turn any other color than blue? Of course, Chris. Yeah, gold. If I didn't think that I wouldn't have run, I wouldn't be out here going crazy trying to get people to vote gold. In the near future, at least 10 years, there is zero chance of New York State becoming a Republican majority state. Zero in the next 10 years. And the reason is the amount of people who would vote Republican have left the state, that they're fleeing the state, and we haven't stopped the bleeding. So for it to turn red or not, like, it would have to have a revamp of the people coming back in. You got to have an influx of people coming back in. That's at least a 5-year process at minimum. And we have to first stop the bleeding. So at least 10 years, no chance of the New York State going red. Going gold, yeah, of course. You saw it in my campaign. People who usually voted red or blue voted gold. So we can go gold. That's possible. And it's as possible as in 2 years from now, 2022. Could absolutely happen. Absolutely. I think we will have, we already had victories. Last year, we had over 100 libertarian victories throughout New York State. That's not a lot compared to how big New York State is. But prior to that, it was 0. So 0 to 100, that's pretty good. I like that growth. So I'm hoping we'll have even more this year. We'll see. And we should have even more the year after. So I think we can do it, absolutely. But I don't think it can turn red for at least 10 years, if not more. Now, for those of you who are left-leaning libertarians or Democrats or liberals, and I know that give or take about 15% of this audience is self-identified liberal or Democrat. I know that. And about 30% is self-identified conservative Republican, and about 50% is self-identified libertarian. So for those of you who are more left-leaning, New York State's been a gold mine for you because it's been left for at least 15 years, if not more. I'm just throwing those numbers out there. The country itself has been turning left, and I've been telling people about this because of urbanization. That's the number one reason. I'm sorry. There are many reasons why the country is turning left. The number one reason is urbanization. Since the last 2 crashes, the only opportunity has been in cities. People have been rushing to cities. You rush to cities. You require a referee. You ask for more government. Boom. You become more left. That's just how it works. Percentage-wise, not every person who comes to a city turns left, but by percentage, yes. But the reverse is happening now because of COVID. COVID is actually, because of the government response to COVID. Let me be clear on that one, Chris. Don't get me started on this. Because of the government response to COVID, so many people now are leaving cities. Now, of course, what I got in response was, Larry, it doesn't make any sense. It's because you leave a city. So what? It happened. Californians are going to Texas, and they're turning Texas purple, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, because they're going from a Californian city to a Texas city. They're going from San Fran to Austin. Yes, that is literally a city to a city. They're still staying city. But after the government response to COVID, people are finding out they can work, have opportunity, do things without having to live in a city. So they're actually physically moving outside of the city into suburbs and into rural areas. And suburbia and rural areas tend to be a bit more red than they are blue. So as these people are influenced to be a bit more left as they move into cities, they should be influenced to be a bit more right as they leave cities. Now, I don't know that for a fact, Chris. I'm giving you my opinion on this. You'll take it for whatever you want. But that's what I've seen happen. That's what I think will happen now. I think the country is going to begin to shift a little bit towards the right as a whole, as people leave cities and begin to move into rural areas and suburban areas, and they begin to pick up those values and those traditions. That's what tends to happen. So I know people are afraid, but I think that's probably what's going to happen. A little bit of a shift. I don't think as massive as a left shift, but I think it may start bringing the pendulum back a little bit and maybe even towards just not kind of holding its ground. And it may stop the left shift that the country has been in. So I hope that was helpful for you. And people who think the country is not going left, you're not paying attention. It is demonstrable. It is clear. There is no doubt. In any way you look at it, the country has been going left. It is. I think it will start shifting back now because of the government response to COVID, because of people leaving cities. I'm keeping my kids home too. Yes, absolutely. I'm glad. Yes. How about this or that? Pizza or cheeseburger? You know, I'm not a big cheeseburger fan. I'm on keto. I've been on a keto lifestyle for over 10 years now. So I rarely eat carbs in general. I hardly ever eat pizza. I hardly ever eat burgers anymore. But I do sometimes, but just rarely. When I have a chance, I like a plain burger. I mean, not plain, but a non-cheeseburger, a regular burger. I happen to like bacon, very undercooked. Love undercooked bacon on my burger. Excuse me, lettuce, tomato, ketchup, no mustard. Not a mustard guy on my burger. I love mustard on my hot dogs, not on my burgers. And I also sometimes, if I can, get an egg on that. Yes, a very, again, runny egg that squirts all over the place. I love my food very undercooked. And I know it sounds crazy, but I do prefer both. I prefer pizza. And with pizza, as I've said a million times, I'll say again, no pineapple on pizzas. That is no, and unless you are physically actually from Hawaii, that is the only exception to that rule. If you're not from Hawaii, you may not have pineapple on your pizzas. If you do, I go from libertarian to authoritarian, just like that. You should be jailed. Jailed. No trial. You lose all your rights. If you put pineapple on your pizza, you lose all your rights, Chris. All of them. You jail immediately. That's my exception. So, tea or coffee? I like unsweetened tea and I love coffee. I am a coffee drinker like there's no tomorrow. I love coffee. I survive on protein and caffeine. How's NeoSage doing with the mass exit of New York City? Do you see yourself relocating? It's a great question, Jonathan. For those of you who don't know what I do, NeoSage is my normal company that I work with daily. That's my normal business. Training, consulting, coaching, teaching, all those things. Since His Majesty Andrew Cuomo, my governor Andrew Cuomo, King Andrew II, has deemed me non-essential, all hail His Majesty, has deemed me non-essential, I'm unable to really go out there and consult much. So I don't. Most of my business now has become coaching, which I can do like this, which was not a massive part of my business. It's a much bigger part of my business now. So, and also content creation. Those are my two things. So, yes. Republic or democracy. I happen to like both, to be forward with you. I think locally, democracy is actually a better, and what people always say is, America is not a democracy, it's a republic. That's actually not true. America is both. Depends on where you are. Locally, in many parts of America, there is direct democracy locally. As a nation, obviously, we are a republic. But locally, there are places in America where we are direct democracy. And I prefer that. I like local direct democracy and then republic as we move higher in the chain of government. If that makes any sense. But I'm a big fan of local direct democracy. Yes. Hey, Mr. Sharpe, how can we get the Libertarian Party to the 5% threshold? Be exciting, produce lots of content, be more popular. I am trying to show the way. Even though I'm trying to keep my family together, even though I'm trying to spend 3 to 4 to 5 days a week out campaigning when I'm not even running for anything to try to get my New Yorkers to vote gold, even though I'm doing this show at least twice a week, sometimes 5 times a week, I am still producing tons of content. And I'm trying to be interesting. I'm trying to give you interesting ideas. I'm going to take on whatever you do. I'm doing it live. You see, sometimes I use other people and bring them in. I add comedians. It isn't always working, I know. But that's how. The more popular we are, the more. Politics is emotional and logical. More emotional than logical, but still both. Being popular matters. There are many reasons why Trump is president. One of them, and one of the larger reasons, is because he was popular before he ran. That was a key piece of his success. To be forward, again, not the only piece of his success at all, but that's a critical piece of his success was that he was popular before he ran. So popularity matters. You want to get the 5%? Be popular, put out great content, keep putting it out. That's how we do it. It's how I became popular in New York State. You're right. It was because I had policies that were interesting, policies that gave answers, policies that had interesting names like, regulate like onions, that kind of thing. And I didn't do that great. I mean, I did great for my state. I mean, prior to my election, we only had 16,000 people vote Libertarian in my entire state. I got over 100,000. So I did great for my state, but overall, not that great, but way better. Why? I learned all my problems and issues. I learned my mistakes doing it. And I'm trying to give people my answers. I do it often. In fact, if you remember, about 2 weeks ago, I literally gave an hour 50-minute class on how to run a campaign. It's literally on my Larry Sharpe Libertarian YouTube page. I just gave it away. Take it. So I'm trying. My LarrySharpe.com website still has all my policies on it. Just take it. And I do this. You can just ask me a question and I'll answer it. So I'm trying my best to still let people know the errors that myself and my team made and how we can make these things better. So, yes. All right. We have to have the goal of constantly raising the lowest common denominator. I think that's true also, right? Let people know, always touch emotion first, simplicity first. Guy running here in New York City by the name of Michael Madrid, his actual, his whole tagline is simplify. So I think you're right, Robert. You want to simplify to the best of your ability. Another Gen Xer, I appreciate that. Yes. As a Zoomer myself, we are very socially liberal, but economically centrist. Oh, there we go. I like that. Zoomer. I like them. I'm going to call my daughter a Zoomer. My daughters are 16 and 10. I guess that makes them Zoomers. I own a Ford. I've never owned a Chevy. In fact, here's the funny part. The first American car I ever owned was the one I have now, which is a Ford. I grew up in the time when, you guys know this, when American cars were basically garbage. I would never buy an American car as a youngster, but they've actually gotten better, right? And again, this is the idea of being resilient. We sat on our laurels for decades, didn't change much, and in the 80s we made crappy cars. The Japanese and the Germans made better cars, and I only own German and Japanese cars. I own two Volkswagens, two Toyotas. Yeah, two Volkswagens, two Toyotas, one Honda. I think I owned 5 cars before I owned the Ford, right? I'm sorry. And one, what's the Mitsubishi one? Nissan, is that what it is? So one Mitsubishi, one Honda, 2 Toyotas, and 2 Volkswagens, and then this Ford. So I have a Ford. Yes. Why do news outlets endorse politicians? For free press. That's all. Yes, for free press. Absolutely. Future generations won't be resilient. It's already apparent. God, I hope you're wrong, bro. I hope you're wrong. But I am worried. It's why I brought it up. That there's a part of me that sees it, because so fast they immediately say, we need legislation. And the hardest part I see is when people begin nonprofits. They don't start thinking about a donor base. They start thinking about government grants. That's one of the first things they say. They just want government grants, which makes them part of the government. It's not helpful. That's not resilient. Resilient is relying upon the people around you and those who are there who care about you. I worry too. I hope you're wrong, though. As a Gen Zer, I can say I've almost definitely experienced the bulldozer parenting style. I know, and you know what? One of the reasons why I don't get mad at millennials, and I don't. In fact, when I do my trainings, when my Lord and Master, my overlord, King Andrew II, Governor of New York, allowed me to work. When I used to work, I would talk about millennials all the time, how to communicate with them better, what motivates them better. And people get so mad. Damn millennials, damn millennials. And my response to them was very important. You raised them. Well, I didn't. Maybe you didn't, but we as a country did. If you're unhappy with millennials and you're a Gen Xer or a boomer, too bad. You raised them. I'm responsible for them too. I don't even have any. Mine are Zoomers. I'm an older parent. I have 2 Zoomers. I don't have any millennials in my as a parent. So I'm raising Zoomers. And if they suck, well, then it's partly my fault too. And millennials, partly, I was here when the millennials were being raised. So we, as a culture, we raise them. If we don't like them, look in the mirror. That's why I'm not mad at them. Whatever millennials are, whether you like them, love them, hate them, whatever you think, we as a culture raise them. We are responsible for them, good or bad. So yeah, I see bulldozer parents, and I try to stop them when I can. When I talk to them, they hardly listen to me because they all think they know better, and then they have horrible kids and go, "Well, why does my kid suck?" Kind of because you suck. That's kind of why. Kind of because you suck. So that's the reason. But that's okay. You didn't know any better. I've sucked too, and not know any better. I don't think any of these parents are doing it because they're bad people. They don't know any better. Our culture, our government, our culture is saying, outsource your parenting. Outsource it to somebody else. Don't take responsibility for your parenting. Do something wrong and CPS comes. Make a mistake and the government takes your kids, because 1 in a gazillion kids gets killed by their parents, whatever that number is. So if you do something we don't like, we take your kid away. So yeah, we've been doing this forever, right? We have been doing this forever. It is not. I'll say something that's kind of off topic, but at the same time on topic. And it's how government creates environments to make us act poorly. This is one of them. The government has been telling us how to educate our kids, how to feed our kids, how to parent our kids for decades. It's been encouraging us to outsource every aspect of our life to some government bureaucrat or expert or whatever the case may be. And while that may not be a bad idea, I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to listen to an expert. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the parents should choose which experts to listen to when they think they require an expert. That's what should be happening. There are times when a parent's overwhelmed. I'm a parent. If any parents are watching and listening, you know sometimes you're overwhelmed and you want to look for an expert. Great, as you should. But it's because you're choosing, hey, wait, I'm overwhelmed here. Let me go get an expert. Okay. But not government knows everything. And if you don't choose an expert, we will punish you. We won't put your kid in school. or you won't have any choice. You can see the things in schools. They're doing things in schools where they do things with your children and you don't have any rights as a parent. I'm not joking. They ask questions about your kids. It's not their business, but it is now. Sorry, wasn't their business. Now it is. They ask all kinds of things about the kids to basically spy on their parents because the government is the more important parent. And this has been a thing happening for decades. So I think it's a natural piece with the change how government, creates the environment so that people act better. So yes, thank you. All right. See if I can grab a couple more. With the instant gratification, I doubt future generations will be resilient. There is a lot of instant gratification. I think that's absolutely true. Yes, it is. There's a lot of it. It's a problem. It's a problem. It means we have to gamify, if that makes any sense. We have to gamify life. And it's hard. One of the things I've done, and it's going to sound kind of crazy, but when I teach planning, I teach strategic planning and local planning, and as part of my leadership class, I do it all the time. Because of this, Chris, and I saw this years ago, I no longer bother teaching that we require midterm goals. And for those of you in business, you'll understand what I'm saying, right? Generally speaking, you have 3 types of goals: short-term, medium-term, and long-term. I don't even teach medium-term at all. Nothing. I teach look for the end game, right? The boss fight. Look for the end game, right? The boss fight. And then each one is a short-term goal that keeps moving you towards that until you get to the boss fight. That's literally how I teach it now. And you might go, oh my God, that sounds crazy. No, that's effective. I've changed with the times. I changed how I teach with the environment that I have, particularly if I have either Gen Xers or millennial leadership. I have to begin to teach scratch midterm goals, short term, and then look over the hill. I know where the boss fight is. It's over there. Now let's slowly go, because each time you have a short success, that's that instant gratification that keeps moving up that ladder. So your point's a valid one. We have to change. I'm already changing how I teach, and I think others have to also. Love the full Sharpe. Yes, the full Sharpe, for those of you who don't know, is all 62 counties of New York State. I have covered them 2 years in a row. This will be my 3rd year doing it, so I appreciate that. Yes. All right. Someone needs to make libertarian movies and TV shows to give people an example of resilience. It's not a bad idea. Not a bad. I like it. I like that. Will Biden forget or confuse the state's name during tomorrow's debate? Will it matter? Look, I like debates. I think they're fun and interesting. I don't know. That kind of thing won't matter. There'll have to be a massive, for this to really have impact, there has to be a massive gaffe or massive, special thing that will have to happen. And I think Trump will try for it because he's better at bouncing back than Biden is, right? Trump is much better at bouncing back than Biden is. So I think from a gaffe, I should say. I mean, in general, Biden has had far more tragedy in his life than Trump has. When it comes to bouncing back from tragedy and coming back, Biden's far better than Trump at that. I'm talking about a short-term blip or problem. Trump is far better than Biden at that. So I think Trump will try that. And if it works, enough people will be, affected to where it might affect the election. My view is this is going to be a very close election. I don't know how I can say that. It's my gut only. I don't know what data you can actually believe anymore. And I know some people are like, oh, Trump's going to win. Oh, Biden's going to win. I don't know. I'm only telling you my gut, Chris. My gut says this is going to be a close election. And if there's a massive gaffe that could just shift 0.5% or 1% of the voting population, that could actually affect the election. But if it's a small gaffe, the people who already support Biden, they're not moving. People support Trump, they're not moving. They're not moving. Right? Someone earlier was asking me, I don't know if it was you, because someone was asking about the tax, the Trump's tax returns. I think the people who already support Trump are still going to support Trump. The people who support Biden are still going to support Biden. I don't think his tax records are going to change many people's minds. I could be wrong, but my gut says it probably won't. Yes. Basically, nobody understands. Oh, right. It was Robert. Thank you. Understands tax. Thank you. Exactly. It's more of an issue of deductions. Yeah. I think that's correct. All I'm saying is I think he should have been more open, Robert. That's my point, right? I don't have a problem with someone trying to pay the least amount legally of taxes, right? Tax avoidance, right? Tax avoidance is legal. Tax evasion is a crime. Please do not commit tax evasion. It is a crime, and the government will hammer the hell out of you for that. So please, no tax evasion. I'm not a fan of tax evasion. I'm a big fan of tax avoidance. I am, and I get it. Just be honest about it, and that's my problem. He should have been more honest. Absolutely, yes. I think didn't Reagan win New York in '88 too? I think. Am I right? No, he couldn't have. I'm sorry, no, because Bush was president in '88. So no, it must have been '84. You're right. Okay, there we go. Yes, '84. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. All right. Let's see if I can keep going here. Let's see. I have an issue with Trump and his taxes. Oh, an issue I have with Trump and his taxes is, why is that the powerful and wealthy have so many loopholes and advantages available to them that they can get off tax? Yes, this is a valid point, right? And that's in general. Instead of us, and this is you brought up a great point. Thank you for this. To be mad, there are two things that kind of go together. There are a lot of people who are angry at, is the kid's name Rittenhouse? I think I remember his name at the kid because, he got into the shootout. I've actually forgotten where it was now, but he got into the shootout at night. And it was, well, if he was a black guy, he would have been arrested. That's probably true, right? I mean, that's probably true. Statistically, that's true. But why are you punishing him for a crappy system that I've been talking about fixing for the past 6 months? That Justin Amash has been talking about fixing for at least the past 4 months. We've been talking about fixing that system for months. While your statement that, well, if Rittenhouse had been a black guy running it with a gun, he might have been arrested. Yeah, probably true. Stats show that's probably true. Why are you punishing him for that? Fix the system. This is a Trump thing, right? Why am I punishing Trump for that? It's a crappy system. Now, he's not talking about fixing this system. That's a valid issue. He should be. That's a valid issue. The fact that he takes advantage of a bad system, we all do. So I'm not blaming him for that. I'm blaming him for the first thing I spoke about earlier, which is he should have been more open about it. Just said, yeah, that's what I do. Yes. And I'll keep doing it. Yeah. And two, to your point, which is a great point, the more detailed we make a tax system, the more the wealthy and the savvy get away without paying. Simplify the tax code. That's the first step. That's the first step. Simplify it. Everyone pays X. That's it. I don't care how you make it. I don't care how you get it. There's no such thing as deductions. Just how much money did you make? I made $1,000. Great. You owe us 10%, like the church. Tax. There's your tithe. Have a nice day. That's it. Done. You do something like that, you'll actually find the rich paying their fair share, whatever that is, right? They'll pay that because we're all paying the same thing. That's fine. If you want to have a couple of exceptions here or there, the world's not going to end, except once you get 1 or 2, now you got 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. So absolutely, there should be no loopholes or any of those things. I completely agree with you. It's a terrible system. And our answers, sadly, the right is don't change anything. That's not a good answer. And the left is let's make it more complex. Also not a good answer. Neither side has a good answer because all of the wealthy are doing exactly what you just said. They're taking advantage of the tax code. And they go, we got to raise taxes on the rich. And then they'll make loopholes so that they don't pay. Or we got to put more taxes on these bad people. And then they still get screwed anyway because they're not rich. So either way, it doesn't work. Thank you for bringing this up. You're completely correct. The actual answer is simplify the tax code. That's the actual answer. And I guess it's the same, by the way, with campaign finance. We put more and more rules on campaign finance, and there's more money in politics than ever. And who gets in trouble? The person who doesn't know any better, right? The example I'll give you is an example I got actually many years ago, 2016. I got this many years ago, like that's so far away. Well, if you're a child, it is. So 2016, I got this from Alex Merced, who ran for Senate in New York State in 2016. He said he wants to make government and everything we do in government like Uno versus Dungeons and Dragons, right? I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons fan. I played as a kid like there was I played all the time. Loved it. Big fan. I literally wrote my college papers on Dungeons and Dragons things. That's how much I loved it, right? When I was in college. So that's how much I loved it. But, big but here. Uno is a simple game. If I grabbed a card, an Uno deck and went to any gathering, whether it's a park or club or whatever bar, wherever I go, and I said, hey guys, somebody want to play some Uno? Odds are I get some people who want to play. People who would know, hey, it's fine, let's play some Uno. People know how to play. If they don't know how to play, very easy to explain the rules, right? Hey, if the card is green, you can put a green on it. If it's a 3, you put a 3, and you can keep going. Last person out, first person out wins. When you have one card, yo Uno. See, pretty simple. Oh, okay, good rules. They play, have a good time. More people enjoy. Not just that. It's very simple, which means no need for a referee. You don't have to have a referee. Everyone can see. It's transparent. If it's a red 2 and you put down a green 3, you're cheating. Done. Everyone knows it and sees it. People don't cheat. Now, Dungeons & Dragons. As much as I love Dungeons & Dragons, and I do, I can't grab all my books and walk into a park and go, who wants to play? Or into a bar, who wants to play? I'm going to struggle to find people to play. And if people do want to play and don't know how, it's a challenge to explain how and all the rule books and let's prepare, let's get ready. And the people who have all the books, they have an advantage. People have been playing for a while, they have an advantage. The people who have read everything and details and special knowledge, they have an advantage. And is it transparent? No, there's a guy blocking stuff who's the master, and he's telling you all the rules and regulations. He could be cheating all day long. How would you know? And you require this rule guy to fix things. I want life in government to be a whole lot more like Uno, and our tax code should be a whole lot more like Uno. If taxes were like Uno, more people would pay, more people would jump. If business licensing and regulations and credentials were more like Uno, more people would play, right? If government was more like Uno, more people would join. All those things would happen. Less corruption, more people join. Let's be like Uno. Thank you for that one. Yes. All right. How do we change the mindset that paying taxes is your patriotic duty? Shocks me how many hold that view. It's a great point by having more community, right? I would like us, not a law, not a rule, but I would like us to feel like we have a civic duty to support our communities. I wish we had more of that. If we had more of that, we wouldn't be talking about paying so many taxes. The problem is we don't have that. So you have to have something so it becomes a patriotic duty. This goes back to my point. As you outsource your community to government, that becomes your duty. Your duty is something bigger than yourself. Right? Think about how many people in a local area can't survive because of legal ramifications on their own. They must somehow get permission from the state, from the federal government. They must go through these guidelines, creating more civic duty, right? Meaning locally. I want my community to step up. I want to care about my community. And you find that does happen in many places, but nowhere near enough. The more we support community, the less we require government, the less that taxes becomes patriotic duty. Because look, if there aren't local community groups, organizations, people to support homeless, well, of course I'd go to government. What else? There's nothing else, right? If there's no other civic groups that are supporting children, of course I go to government. There's nothing else. So the problem is we as a society have been looking to government immediately for everything. So community isn't there for us. Build community and that will change. I wish that was a 5-minute answer, a 5-minute solution. It's a multi-year solution, John. But we've got to start somewhere. I'm saying start now. Start this year. I'm saying start now. Because the sooner we start, the sooner we make it happen. Yes. All right. See if I keep going. All right. Upstate New York is rather libertarian. Unfortunately, upstate New York Republicans don't realize it. Also true. You know, the problem with upstate I found, particularly in North Country, is I found a lot of people who've just basically given up. They're like, there's no chance of this state going blue. They feel they're deep red. They don't think the libertarian can do anything. So they've kind of given up. There are certain parts of my state, and I'm sure if you don't live in New York, you have a similar places in your state, where only 1 in 6 registered voters vote. Eligible voters, sorry. Only 1 in 6 eligible voters vote. 1 in 6. Wow. Of course you can't make any change. Of course somebody wants to make change. Nobody's voting. They've given up already. And that's what I'm trying to break. I'm trying to stop people from surrendering. They might say, well, Larry, you only want to vote libertarian. Of course I want them to vote libertarian. But I would rather have them vote Democrat or Republican than not vote at all. Why? Because if they vote, at least I can get them to vote for me. I can't get them for me if you're not going to vote, if you've given up, if you won't come to my event, if you won't watch my stuff on YouTube, if you won't see me talk on Facebook. If you've given up, I can't get you. So you're right. Many of them have given up, though. That's the sad part. So Libertarian here, thank you. Libertarians, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes. Special shout out to Chase Oliver, special election vote. That's right. Yes. That's right. Chase Oliver is in Georgia, if not mistaken. He's running in Georgia. He has a special election tomorrow. Guys, get on out there. Vote for him if you're in Georgia. Very important if you're in his district. It's an Atlanta district. I'm pretty sure it's one district in Atlanta. It's a special election. Absolutely. Yes, please. All right. So I grab some more here. Nice analysis. I think that's me. Thank you. Yes. Has the country moved left, or do those who control the narrative make it seem that way? No, the country has actually moved left, and there's a narrative, right? Just remember, I know that many people who are on the right, I know most people who watch this and listen, they lean more right than they lean left. The audience leans right compared to left. I'm aware of that. And remember that the narrative that the mainstream media is all left is not 100% true narrative. Remember, a lot of media, mainstream media, is Fox News. Fox News leans right. So, yeah, and the argument is, well, there's only one Fox News and two of the other. Yes, but the numbers show a lot of people watch Fox News. It's like if it was Fox was here and CNN and MSNBC were here, it's valid. It's more like that. So, mainstream media includes Fox News Sunday. It includes Fox Business. It includes Fox News. That's all part of the mainstream media. So the narrative that's actually being controlled is not the country's left. The narrative that both of them go is it's us versus them. That narrative is constant. There's always the most important election ever. Oh my God, the world's going to end if you don't vote for my guy. Yes, most important election ever. Absolutely. That narrative is the same. But the country is actually going left. And again, you can do polling, and multiple people poll, and they find it again and again and again. And look, even at the last presidential elections, most presidential elections, the popular vote goes to the Democrats, right? The popular vote does in most of these nationwide elections. So yeah, the country has been drifting left. It has. It's not running left, but drifting left. Think about when I was a kid in the 80s, if you said socialism, it was like, what is wrong with you? Oh my God. Nobody would have been like, so that's a good idea. The socialists were the crazy kids, right? That wasn't a thing we talk about now. I was in the Marine Corps in the 80s. We were fighting the communists and the socialists and the red Chinese, right? And the Soviet Union. Now, socialism is cool Bernie and attractive AOC. That's what socialism is. So I think the country has been moving left. It has. It's been a slow tick. And most of it is because of government incompetence and response to the bubbles, which come directly from the Fed. So the Fed is responsible. See that? Let's blame the Fed. Blame the Fed for it all. I love that. Yes. Let's see. It does seem that the riots are having a significant impact on swinging the country back to the right too. Yes, I think violence is also doing. You're right, Ro. It's also that. Yes, I think, and that's one of the reasons why they're moving out of the cities, right? Because most of that violence, the vast majority of that violence, is in cities. There is some outside of cities. There is, but the vast majority is in cities. So I think that also spurs people packing up and leaving, going, "I'm not going to do this," and they go someplace else and they begin to adopt the culture of where they go. Yes. I think the left has gone so batshit crazy. A lot of people moving back to the right, and that will be accelerated as more people move away from the cities, you said. I think some of that's true. It kind of goes with what Rory was saying, right? The violence, peace, that kind of idea. But again, as the country's gone left, the idea of socialism that, again, when I was a teenager, would have seemed crazy. It's not anymore. Many of my friends, I live in New York City, as you all know, many of my friends are Democrats. I'm talking about socialism. They're afraid of it. They are. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I'm about to tell you the story before, but I have friends who were Hillary supporters. I mean, wore the I'm with her H, right, pin outwardly, that kind of Hillary supporter. Wrote her a check for 4 figures, have pictures of her and them in their offices, right, that kind of Hillary supporter. And there's a couple of them that I know that literally told me, and this is prior to the Democrats picking their nominee. They said, Larry, if they pick Bernie, I'm voting Trump. This was someone who was that kind of Hillary supporter who was going to vote left. So that kind of follows what you're saying, Paul. The craziness that they're becoming full-on socialists. Even Democrats are like, oh, whoa. I'm a Democrat, but I'm not socialist. Even some are doing that. I think you are finding that. But at the same time, I have friends, educated, credentialed, smart, intelligent, who go, maybe the country needs to be socialist. They believe that. They think there's no other answer. They think if we don't go socialist, we're going to go fascist. They can't imagine anything else. So they believe that the right has gone batshit crazy. That's what they believe. And I think the only answer is socialism, because what else would do it? And they also in their heads believe, I don't believe this, but many of them do, that we can never really go socialist. America would never take that. They don't think so. I think America will take a whole lot. I think COVID response taught us this. My state shut down. My governor said what was essential, who was essential, and who wasn't. My government literally is taking away licenses from businesses. When I'm out there doing my campaigning out there for the Libertarian Party, when I was doing it, there are times when I wore a mask during a show, and some totally ignorant people, and if you're listening, you're an idiot. You're an ignorant idiot if you actually said this, mad at me for wearing a mask in someone's facility. Yeah, because if I don't, literally, not figuratively, literally, an agent will come into that place because someone complained, take their liquor license and destroy their business. That's my state. That's happened multiple times, hundreds if not thousands of times. Someone literally walks in with a badge and says, your liquor license is suspended, you're closed down, your livelihood destroyed. Because some guy wants to go, you can't wear a mask. Shut up. This is someone's livelihood. And they're letting me in their facility to do an event. If they want me to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask. I'm not having your livelihood get shut down because you want to be self-righteous. So I even have that. And with that happening in my state, you know what the massive backlash is, Paul? None. There's no massive backlash. There's no riots in the streets because of this. Not because of this. They're not concerned that the government comes in and steals someone's livelihood and shuts down their business because some guy doesn't want to wear a mask. Because some guy doesn't want to wear a mask, that someone who's been working a business for 20 years is now on the verge of bankruptcy. They don't care. So I think the left believing that we won't go socialist is not real. I think we might. It's possible. We're moving towards that way. But I think with the COVID response, we are leaning towards the right again. And I hope we won't go fascist, because that's the other thing, right? Think about it. There's a level of that control that isn't communist. It's fascist, right? Luckily, I'm so blessed to have my governor. All hail His Majesty King Andrew II, Andrew Cuomo, that he will rotate from fascist to socialist overnight. See how awesome I get the worst of both worlds in my state. Paul, am I lucky or what? Anyway, I'm sorry. I yapped away on that one, Paul. Thank you. Yes. I'm not an avocado fan as a general rule. I'm not. So, all right, Daniel, you and your pineapple. I used to like you. See that? Yeah, no, absolutely. What's this nonsense about King Cuomo not letting us get vaccinated even when the FDA approves a vaccine? He wants to double check to make sure it's safe. I didn't hear that, Paul, but I believe that. I mean, that is his way. He decides what is correct. For those who don't know, my governor decides what a meal is or not. And this is true. I was in events. I was in pubs and bars and dining facilities. And they literally said, if you come in and order a drink, you have to order food or we can't serve you. And I'm not joking. My governor has decided wings is not food. I don't know how he knows this, but I guess he is all-knowing and all-powerful, so he then knows this too. He decides what food is. I'm not making this up, guys. This is the state I live in. So you saying that, Paul? I did not hear this. So believable. That is believable. In fact, you could say almost anything about my governor. I would probably believe it. He wants to decide how many tissues you use to wipe your nose. I would believe that. If he told me that, I would totally believe that, because that's what he does. So yes. Okay. Thank you for that, by the way. Yes. Let me grab a couple more if I can. For SCOTUS, extra step needs to not be mainstream on the list. I'm not sure. I must be missing something like that. Hold on. As a huge figure in the Libertarian Party and libertarian justices to consider as a balance to conservative justices. As I've said before, people ask that question to me often. I don't know why we even bring this issue up, to be forward with you. We're nowhere near winning the presidency. It's not where we are. It's nice to bring it up, but we're nowhere near the presidency. We're not there at all. I mean, maybe we might win a gubernatorial election, maybe, and put in some local judges, perhaps. But we're nowhere near this. It isn't where we are right now. But I get what if you want to say, yeah, I mean, the judges that I'd want to put in, and I say this before, people ask all the time, I'll keep bringing it up. The number one thing we have to worry about is a judge who has been a criminal defense attorney. I cannot stress that enough. Have to have been a criminal defense attorney. I want that judge to have seen the government put all of its power, energy into crushing a citizen. Deserve it or not, I want them to see that happen and go, aha, I get it. And preferably have watched the government put an innocent person away. That is one of my number one criteria for someone going Supreme Court. They have to know that the laws they deal with affect individuals. And when the government decides to target you, what actually happens and how it happens. That is my number one. That's my number one criteria. In fact, that's a litmus test for me. Right? If I'm president and I have to put someone on, that is a litmus test. You have not been that, you are not qualified. That's a litmus test for me. Because you have tons who haven't been that. You've been that, you're qualified. You haven't, you are not qualified. Gotta be that. At least one. Right? If I got to pick many, then I might change my qualifications. But at least one, there's got to be one on there at least, for sure. So I hope that was clear at least. All right. Let's see if I can keep going. By the way, see, I used to like you, and then you put the pineapple thing there. So now, no. Olives is fine. No pineapple. All right, yes. All right. Let's see if I can keep going here. How do we go about taking the media to task? The answer there, Chris, is by watching alternative media. And that's already happening, right? That is happening. One of the reasons why it's a terrible cycle, right? The media becomes more sensationalized because people don't watch the media. So the people watch, they get more sensationalized. Then people get mad at the media for being too sensationalized. Then they get more sensationalized. So people go watch the media again. One of the reasons why CNN, MSNBC, as companies, I mean, COVID was a boom for them. It was amazing for them. I mean, if you've watched any of them, I know some people don't watch TV anymore, but if you've watched CNN or MSNBC, particularly CNN, I mean, they literally had a body count for months on the screen, hoping you can come back every hour and check the body count and see if it went up. The answer? Stop watching. I'm very serious. Stop watching. If you've noticed, any of you who watch, sadly, I watch because it still is mainstream, so I watch to punish myself so I can talk on these issues. But if I look at it, and the number of commercials that have increased on CNN and Fox, oh my God, MSNBC, oh my God. Because people are watching now. More and more commercials. So they're packing up all their cash. Absolutely. Stop watching, right? Watch this show. Watch Joe Rogan. Watch podcasts. Watch whomever. Watch other things and to get your news from other places. And you'll see it change. That's the only answer. So, start making those game apps that sneakily teach people about liberty. You know, Lori, that is a brilliant idea. I talked it and I should have immediately thought of it. There are some that do it. It isn't that great, but it's not a bad idea. You know, it's not a bad idea. There was one years ago. Some of you may know this if I remember the name of it. Drug War. Ooh, it was. If you remember, they actually changed it because it was the concept was so negative. It was about a guy who bought and sold drugs throughout New York City. I'm serious. He bought and sold that. That was the game. It was just a word game, typing word game. Some may remember it. Now it's called like Planet War or something like that. Planet Dealer or something like that. They changed it was like the Bronx, Harlem, Brooklyn, Coney Island. It was like that type of thing. And you go to each one and you'd have a list of all your drugs. I'm serious. It's a serious game. I forgot the name of it. I'm sure someone will remember it. You can sell like weed and cocaine and, uppers or whatever. And you'd move back and forth and things would change and you would sell and buy and sell. And you learn how the market works and supply and demand. It was a serious game. But then people got mad because it was based on drugs. So they changed. They made it like, you can go to Jupiter and Pluto, not the Bronx. And you're selling like iron or whatever, coal or something. They changed everything. But it was based upon drugs. It was how drug dealers work in the 80s. And you can have a gun or not. And when the cops came at you, you had a choice. Shoot the cops or not. If you throw your gun away, they would just seize all your stuff. You have to restart you keep your money, but you lose all your drugs. And you have to, redo all your buys and sales again. Or you try to shoot out with the cop and you get killed or you kill the cop. I know it's terrible, but that was the whole point of the game. So I think there are some, but not enough. It's a good point. It's a good point. On some scales, I'm millennial. Some scales, I'm a Zoomer, born 95. I was already out of Marine Corps by then. Yes. All right. So I can keep going. Let's see. Why were we not taught about the Federal Reserve in school? The number one reason is because of federal funds. And I'm not joking when I say this. Federal funds and then, of course, state mandates within schools, but heavily federal funds, are all based on standardized testing. Standardized testing, only two things are on those tests, English and math. So everything is focused on English and math because the tests. Now, certain high schools and junior high schools also have STEM tests, which is science. Is it science, technology, something, math? Whatever. It's basically science and tech. I forgot what STEM actually stands for. I'm sure someone will be able to tell me what that is. But the STEM school is an exception. Sometimes, depending upon what school you are and what state you're in, there'll be a STEM test. But otherwise, it's basically just English and math. Economics is not taught, not in the test. Civics, not in the test. Home economics, not in the test. Shop, not in the test. All those go away because they're not in the test. How do they make money? By having people do well on the test. So why would I teach them Federal Reserve? No money in. Sounds terrible, Pete, and the reason. So if we get rid of federal funding, which is what I ran on 2 years ago, we could teach them that. Or civics, or shop, or home ec, or whatever you thought was valuable in your school district, to include the Federal Reserve, or even basic business. Thank you. All right, thank you, Maynard. I'm trying my best. Yes. It's so frustrating that more libertarians do not embrace incremental change. Yes. Hearing you talk about incremental change and you actually having real ideas to replace things is what swayed me to change my part of libertarian. Oh, you just made my night. Thank you so much. This is what I've been trying to do for years. Thank you, Crystal. You let me know it's working. Thank you. You made my night. And becoming a paying member. Even better. Yes, absolutely. I am, believe it or not, I am a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party, and I'm a monthly donor. I donate monthly also. Yes. So, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Absolutely. Yes. You going to run for president in 2024? The LP needs you. I don't know. And as I say this often, and I mean this when I say it, when I run, I have to be ready to make a serious run. When you run for president, you literally take up all the libertarians in the country. You take up their hopes, their aspirations, their money, their time, all those things. And if you can't do a bang-up job, if you can't try your damnedest, if you can't go all out and make that work, I couldn't live with myself. That's why I didn't run this time. I couldn't physically do it. I didn't have the finances. I didn't have the relationship with my wife and family. I physically couldn't do it. If I could have done it, if I thought I could, I would have run. I would have started last year like I did running for governor. But running for governor, for those you don't know, it was a year and a half out of my life. I didn't work for a year and a half. I didn't get a salary. So if you could imagine your own personal finances, if you didn't get a salary for a year and a half, well, that was my finances. And they still aren't recovered completely. If they had recovered completely, I might have been able to run. They have not. There's no way. I couldn't have done a good job. And I can't take your money, your time, your energy, and your hopes if I'm not going to give every single bit of me. I can't do it. It's maybe an ethical issue. businessman in me. I've got to give you value. So if I'm in a spot where I can do it in 2024, yes. If I'm not, no, I'm not. This is not a vanity thing for me. I have a show with my name on it. I have enough vanity. I'm good. I don't need a vanity run and go, look, I was running for president, or whatever is the thing people do when they're done. It's not my thing. I've got a show already. I'm fine. So if it works out well, yes, I would do it. Otherwise, I would support whoever would do it. Try to get someone else to do it. I tried to get Judge Jim Gray to do it this year. He was in a spot where he could have. Retired, living in California, financially secure. He could do it. He literally could have gone across the country and done everything and was prepared to do so, and wanted to use me to do it, and had donors. He had everything. He had a plan. He agreed with my plan. I was talking earlier about all the errors that I made and how I was doing things differently, and he agreed with everything I said. He agreed with my plan and my style. That's why I wanted to run with him. If I could find someone who would do that, or myself, yes. Otherwise, I'll let someone else do it. Donor burnout is real. Activist burnout is real. Volunteer burnout is real. I don't want to contribute to that. I hope, and people like Crystal just made my night, I hope that what I'm doing is having long-term impact, and that when you, and many of you I know who are watching gave money to my campaign. Some of you are patrons for Sharpe Way. Thank you if you are. I never want you to think you're giving your money away and it's throwing it away, that you're giving it to someone who's going to give you value back. You're buying something of value. You're like, I know I gave this guy $50 and this guy busted his ass for me. That's what I want you to feel. I'm glad I gave this guy $50. Guy jumped through hoops. Good. Totally worth it. Glad I gave him $100. That guy was doing that. Glad I gave him that money. In fact, when he runs again, I'll give him another $100. That's what I want people to believe. That's what I want them to feel. That's why I keep doing this. And I'm not going to run unless I can do that again. If I can do that again, I'm in. Yes. All right. Let's see if I can keep going. Where are all the dystopian movies about a future where people have too much freedom? I like that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Where's that one? I don't know. Where's that one? I love that. Good. Do you find any of the Hunter Biden issues a bit concerning? I really can't control adult kids, but the optics are tough. I also find Trump's optics tough. I think they're all tough, but the point is, when you only have, in most people's minds, we know this not to be true, but in most people's minds, there's only two choices. We know that's not accurate, but most Americans think, I got brain cancer or stomach cancer, right? What am I going to take, right? That's what most people think. So, and while that's bad, I get it, but they're trying to pick the lesser of two evils. So I don't think, while I think they're concerning, which I'm not going to vote for either of them, if someone hates Trump, I don't see them looking at Hunter Biden as a reason to vote for Trump if they hate Trump. If someone loves Trump, I don't see his taxes being a reason for someone to not vote for Trump. I could be wrong. I mean, we'll see, obviously, right? I mean, coming up here in about a month or so from now, is the election. We'll see. But my gut tells me Hunter Biden is not an issue. In fact, I think if Trump personally brings it up, his people are. I think if he personally brings it up, it will hurt him more than it will help him, because it may make him look petty, like he's attacking somebody, not Biden. If Trump attacks Biden, he's supposed to. I get that. That's the norm. And I mean Trump personally, not his team. His team will attack Hunter, obviously. But Trump should only be attacking Biden, or maybe Kamala Harris too. Kamala Harris, maybe too. But he should not be attacking Biden's family. I think that will be bad optics. Beat up on Biden, that's it. And Biden shouldn't beat up on anybody else. Shouldn't beat up on Ivanka, Jared, whatever. Biden should beat up on Trump only. That's the game they both agreed to play, so they can beat each other up. I don't think the optics are terrible if the individual candidates attack the other one's kids. And I don't like it. It makes me feel bad. It would make me hate Trump. That's not true. Dislike Trump if he was attacking people's kids. Maybe dislike Biden if he was attacking people's kids. It's the wrong answer. It would really bother, because I have kids. I don't want people attacking kids for what I do. You attack me. Don't attack my kids. So I think that's bad optics. There are problems that Trump paid too little. It's that all of us pay too much. Yes, Pete. Thank you. There's the issue. That's the issue right there. Yes, absolutely. All right. All Trump's tax returns prove is progressive taxes don't work. The rich get write-offs. Yes, absolutely, yes. Thank you again, Mr. Sharpe. Your boss fight analogy just helped me flip a switch in my thinking. I am a Gen X 30-yard. Yes, absolutely, yes. Remember, look for the boss fight and just each level. You're just getting past each level one at a time. Don't worry about the mid-level. In fact, in most video games, Vicky, if they play it for the first time, they actually don't know when the boss fight's coming. Right? I don't know if you play video games at all, Vicky, but if you do, you know, they often don't know when it's coming, right? You just keep playing and all of a sudden, oh my God, it's the boss fight, right? Boom, it's the big one. But you're just slowly getting each level until, oh, there's the boss fight. So when I teach in business even, same thing. That's how I teach. What's the ultimate goal? We want to increase sales, change this, hire these people, change this policy, right? I'm talking business policies. We do these things. Great. That's the boss fight. What are the first steps to getting there? I think that's how you make that happen. And I think many youngsters respond much better to that. And in my view, youngsters are people under 30. I'm sorry if you got under 30. I'm sorry. That's my view of youngster under 30. So if you're 31, you're not a youngster anymore. Sorry. Yes. All right. If you simplify the tax code too much, what will all the tax accountants do for work? Yeah, I think it's a good point, right? First off, you wouldn't simplify it overnight anyway. In fact, you'd probably ask tax accountants to help you simplify it. They would know how to get around it. You make them consultants until they figure out how to make things happen. They would shift into consultants. Now, remember, accountants don't just do taxes. Clearly, there are specifics for that, absolutely. But accountants do many things, right? Tell you how to spend your money, what money is being spent well. Take that same analyzing brain that so many tax accountants have and stop telling me how to do my taxes and tell me what my actual marketing spend is working. Which one's working, which one's not. Which one's getting us the right bang for my buck, right? How much am I paying these people and which benefits package work best for people I'm paying? Should I be hiring people out of state or in state? That's what my tax accountants will shift to because it wouldn't happen overnight anyway. But they're still business savvy. I know lots of tax accountants. Some of my clients are accounting firms. So many of them, that analyzing mind doesn't have to be used for taxes. It can be used for many things. And rather it used for how am I spending my money? Where's the money going? Those types of things, right? So they'll just shift. And again, it won't happen overnight. All right. Just make a 15% flat tax for everyone. That's fine or whatever, right? Oh, I made up 10% because that's the traditional Christian tithe. Traditional is 10%. I made that up. But whatever the number is, right? Look, the reality of it is, if at least we knew what the flat number was, we would actually know if they're raising taxes or not. Most of us don't actually know. We just see how our personal tax return it comes back. And often our tax accountant tells us, you know, oh, you did better, oh, you did worse. And we don't even often know why, unless we happen to know tax and that kind of thing. But the average American doesn't. So even more important, it would be fair, but we'd know. And if they go, we're going to raise taxes from 15% to 15.5%, that's clearly a tax hike on everybody. We know we can act accordingly, right? Or we're going to lower taxes to 14.5%. Okay, we know, we see it. It's way easier. It's much more of an Uno than Dungeons and Dragons. Yes. So the problem is wealthy parents and others were spoiled, the millennials, because you realize if they were living in gated communities or treating these kids as special, that's how bad they've become. It isn't just wealthy, though. I'm sure it is wealthy, sure, but it isn't just wealthy. I see middle-class parents doing, kids yelling and screaming. Do nothing. Do nothing. My parents would let me yell and scream. Well, I don't want to. I want him to be him. I want her to be her. No. Don't raise your kids to be asses. And you wonder when they get older, they're asses. Because you trained them to be such a thing. Don't train them to be that. If your kid's a jerk, train them not to be there. Don't get me wrong. There are some kids who have actual issues where it's difficult for them to function very easily in society. I get that. But even if they are, it doesn't usually let it go. You will find the right tools to calm your child down to the best of your child's ability. No, you have to accept my child as yelling and screaming. You see it in planes all the time. And the backlash that's going to come eventually is the wealthy are going to be in spots where they don't have kids. meaning they're going to have, this is the kid area, the wealthy, you got to pay extra to have no kids around. That's going to be the future. So what's going to wind up happening, Ed, is if you're wealthy, you don't deal with it. You outsource your parenting, or you pay money to have someone else take care of your kids, or whatever the case may be, and you don't deal with your jerk kids. Everyone else does. That's how that actually works. And who actually gets punished? The poor and the working poor. They get punished with anything. Middle class too. They'll get punished. So yeah. Yes. Oh, you liked the D&D analogy. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Paying tax is not my picture duty, just more progressive era propaganda. It's valid. It's valid. Yep. I will be using Uno frequently from now on. Yes, I like that. Please. Absolutely. Yes. It's a game. Make it look like he gives a crap about safety. Then he is going to mandate it for every citizen regardless of objection. I don't know where that comes from. I must have missed what the beginnings of that one was. At least I apologize. Yes. So I didn't see you as a D&D fan, Larry. Maybe the weirdo dudes that played where I grew up aren't the same in other places. They are different, but no, I literally still have all the books. I have them all upstairs. I have all the books. I wrote my college papers on it. An interesting story. When you have professors, and those of you who went to college know this, many professors have their own views on things. So when you start writing things and you be persuasive writing, and they don't like your take on things, they punish you because they don't like your take on something, right? So clearly I learned that my first one, I'm like, this isn't a bad paper. You just don't like what I'm saying, and I got a C. Okay, that's never going to happen again. So from now on, every time I wrote a paper in college that was any persuasive whatsoever, it was always about Dungeons & Dragons because none of my teachers played it. So they couldn't have an opinion. This is a true story. I actually wrote a paper in college on the reasons why you should not add a half-ogre character class as a dungeon master. I know some of your heads exploded. It's so geeky. It is, but I wrote a paper on why a dungeon master should not allow that character, that racing class to exist in Dungeons & Dragons. They should not accept it. It was an optional rule in AD&D back in the late 80s, and I decided you shouldn't do that. I got an A. She had no idea what I was talking about, so it just had to sound good. So yes, I was that's how bad of a. For those of you who remember, there was a magazine called Dragon Magazine. I actually submitted writings to Dragon Magazine. I was a super D&D geek. Absolutely. Played in the Marine Corps. Played for, yes, all the time. So anyway, yes. Okay. Let's see if I can keep going. What racing class did Larry play in D&D? I was almost always Dungeon Master. I loved playing Dungeon Master so much. It was my favorite. And people loved it because they knew I liked creating worlds. I loved creating background. I loved playing with the characters. I enjoyed being Dungeon Master more than anything else. When I played, I only liked I liked 3 different character classes. I like to play a straight human fighter, a straight human cleric, simple. And people, I'm geeking out some people. And if I ever played a mixed class or non-human character, it was almost always an elf who was both a magic user and a thief. That was my scout class, and that was it. So now you guys know. But I rarely played. I most of the time was Dungeon Master because I really enjoyed it. Yes. Yes. All right. Reason that's kind of gone to shit recently. I don't know if I'd go that route, but they should cover me more. I'll give them that, Maynard. They absolutely should cover me more. OAN is pretty far right. It is, right? But it's a good source of news. Thank you, Christine, for this. This is critical, guys. Just because a news outlet has a spin doesn't mean the data is wrong. Thank you, Christine. You're completely correct. It doesn't mean the data is wrong. The data may be correct. One of the reasons why you see me often watch Fareed Zakaria. I almost never miss a show. Fareed absolutely leans left. Clearly leans left. Not even pretending. It's obvious. But the topics he covers and the news he gives is good news and is important and valuable and accurate. The spin he puts on it, I'm not going to. Sometimes you see me, I actually show his stuff and I explain the spin. So, Christine, thank you for that. Just because the spin is wrong doesn't mean the data is wrong or the spin is obvious. You know, what's the old saying? Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. They might be out to get you and you might be paranoid. So yes, you want to look for the right. You want to look for good sources of news. Christine, thank you so much. Yes, you don't want to dismiss it because it's CNN, or dismiss it because it's Fox, or dismiss it because it's OAN. I was on OAN. You can go OAN, Larry Sharpe. I did interview on OAN. It doesn't mean that it's by default bad. Just understand their spin and take that into account on what they're saying. Right? I mean, clearly Fox leans right. Clearly CNN leans left. Obviously. I mean, it's not like we don't know this. It doesn't mean what they're saying by default is wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. Doesn't mean the actual data and news is wrong. Doesn't mean that. Yes. How can libertarians get into the news? Republicans suing time, get libertarians off the ballot. Democrats suing the Green Party off the ballot. Why is it not news? It's going to sound horrible when we give you the real answer. I dealt with this when I was running. I ran for a year and a half. I dealt with this. And I actually asked them, why are you not covering me? Why are you not covering me? I'm raising money. I'm running a real campaign. I'm the legal, I'm the legal candidate. I got elected. Nominated, and I'm on the ballot. Why aren't you covering me? And their answer was, you're not buying ads. They didn't even hide it. Buy ads, we'll cover you. Don't buy ads. Who are you? That's not a joke. That was straight up. Lesson learned. Why am I always bugging people for money? Buy some ads, you get some coverage. Happens often. Yes, happens often. So buy more ads, you get more coverage. I wish it wasn't pay to play, Diane. I do. I wish it wasn't. It is pay to play. All right. Examples of country going left. Republicans supporting gay marriage, acceptance of expanding government and giving into the authoritarian law coming down. Yes. All examples. I agree. I think it's true. Yes. Is it really going left, or is it just big city voting? They're the same thing, Joe. You're right. They're the same thing. As people move to cities, they become more left, and cities have more power and have more voting bloc. Yes. For those of you who don't know this, as some of you I'm sure do, the country does not have any blue states. Every state is red. The question is, does it have enough blue dots in it to flip it blue? So, yes, Joe, there's no or there. Those are both true. People are moving to cities. Cities are bigger, having more voting blocks, making it left. Yes, both of those statements. There's no or there. It's both. So if you look at New York State, it's my state, right? The rural areas of New York State are just as red as the rural areas of Mississippi. Same, South Carolina. But then go into the cities of South Carolina. They're blue, just like New York State. And in New York, people go, it's New York City. It's not just New York City. It's every city. It's Ithaca, Rochester, Utica. They're all blue. Syracuse, Albany, Buffalo. They're all blue. Outside of them, they're all red. I mean, we would drive, and this is not joking, we'd be driving from city to city, right, as we're going to different counties. And on the way to the city, you see Trump 2020, Trump Pence, Trump 2020, make America great again, Trump 2020, Trump 2020. I'm seeing some houses in cities. Biden Harris, Black Lives Matter, Biden Harris. Leave the city, Trump 2020, Trump 2020, Trump Pence. It's like, as you're driving, you just watch the change. So yes to both. Yes to both. My husband and I have observed that the mainstream media and the narrative act is a critical force. It seems to be pushing people to radical edges. Agreed. And that's one of my other worries I have is once this election's over in November or December, whenever it's over, is that whoever loses, that team goes further in the same direction. If Trump wins this thing, Democrats go further left. Trump loses this thing, Republicans go further right. That's what I think. We'll see, though. Hopefully I'm wrong. But we'll see. All right. See if I can keep doing this. Larry, what do you take away from the LPNY convention? I wasn't part of it. I did a two podcasts that morning, and then the Spike Cohen event in Manhattan that afternoon. It was basically over by the time I got home. So congratulations to Cody Anderson for being our new chair. I think Tony DeRazio was a wonderful chair. I'm sure Cody will be a fine chair also. I think that's my takeaway. What I feel from my state, and I know everyone's state's different, my view of my state, I believe the number one job in my state for my state party is to get more county organizations, more local county affiliates. When I started my run in 2017, we had about 15, 16 in that area. Out of 62 counties, we had about 15 or 16 county organizations. Now we have about 30, which is amazing. It's double. Awesome. But not enough. I'm happy that incrementalism that we talked about earlier is amazing. I'm happy it's happening. We went from 15 or 16, I forgot what it was in that area, to now about 30. That's amazing progress in 2 years. Love it. Now the next 2 years, let's go to 15. Let's go to 45. And then after I run again, if I run again, we'll have all 62. So if the LPNY goes out of its way to try to support that movement, I'm in. That's all I care about. The rest, I'm sure, important. But from my point of view, where I'm seeing, and I'm biased to where my head is, my head, Jonathan, that's the one priority. Clearly, I'm biased, but that's where my head is. So, there are too many tax accountants nowadays. Okay, just like medical coders, there are better uses they give society if these jobs went away. Yes, Josh, I agree. At the same time, if we do it too fast, we throw them all out of work. I would rather let them all see it coming so they can all begin to shift that model effectively, right? And move those skill sets. For those of you who don't know tax accountants, I know many of them, and they are super smart people who are very analytical. That's what they do. They are really good at this. We need those people doing other things also. You're totally right, Josh. I agree. Yes. All right. See if I can find this here, please. Tracking bang for the buck. That's all those advertisements telling you to enter the special code when you're. Oh yeah, tracking advertising. Yes, 100%. Great idea. Yes. All right. Let's see if I can keep going. Missy, I just hopped over here to say that sometimes D&D nerds are the best. My husband's one too. Yes, indeed, we are great. I like that. Yes, good, absolutely. All right, let's see. Would have Larry was an elf rogue? I'm not sure what that means, but yes, that was my rogue character. Yes, it was a. And the reason why I picked that character is the character would not have to wear any armor because it was a magic user, which was benefits in being a thief and being an elf. You walk lightly. So you get all kind of benefits being a thief. So it's the perfect combination, becoming invisible, hiding, good scout, all those things. That was the goal behind that specific connection I liked. Everything else I really didn't do. So yes, hope that was good. Yes. All right. What is your stance on how to deal with police reform? I actually have 2 specific videos on that, Janine. They're both in the Sharpe Way YouTube page. If you go there are 2 of them. One talks about how can we all breathe. That one gives you ways of breaking up police. Getting rid of qualified immunity, it's insurance for cops, ending the civil asset forfeiture, and taking cannabis off Schedule 1. And I explain why and how that would work. And then right after that, I talk about not defunding the police, but resetting the police. And that's how you can actually have a framework for police to be adjusted and shifted depending upon the local communities. I don't want to just punish police. I want people to be policed as they want to be policed. I want people to have the police force that they want. And I created a framework to twist and adjust and shift your police force to add a civilian component and a community component. So there are 2 videos, each of those. One called How Can We Breathe, which talks about quick, QICC. The other one says Reset the Police, and that's FAQS. Please enjoy. Explains everything from top to bottom. Hope that was clear. All right. Guys, I'm going to say thank you so much for today. Been about an hour and a half. Going to have to run. Got to get back to work and go make some money. So I appreciate that. Speaking of that, if you guys want to help me out, please go ahead. Sponsor patreon.com/sharpeway. 10, 25, or $100 a month, whatever you got. Please help me out so I can keep doing this. If you find value in it, show me you do. And if you can't do that, I got it. Like, comment, share. Like, comment, share, guys. I will be on tomorrow before the debate, and then I will be on Compound Media during the debate, and I'll be live tweeting from my Larry Sharpe Twitter account during the debate also. And I will also be back on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So I have a bunch of shows this week. I have a whole bunch of shows. I'll see you guys a bunch this week because next week I'm back running across New York State again. Have a good one, guys.